The video button, this one? Yep. Oh, okay, thank you.
Chair, that chair there. Someone was on the chair for someone. Okay.
Yeah, that's
So you're gonna see the hill here, we're gonna see here.
Article 2 will be voted upon. Article 1, to elect a moderator to preside at said meeting, who will follow the rules of procedures from the Maine Moderator's Manual.
Nominate Norman Blake.
Nomination of Norman Blake.
Yeah.
I second it. All in favor?
Perfect.
Norman Blake has been elected as moderator.
Sorry about that, Norman.
I will report
I will support the Constitution
of the United States.
of the United States,
So long as I shall continue
so long as I shall continue
a citizen thereof.
citizen thereof, so help me God.
I do swear
I do swear
that I will discharge to the best of my ability
that I will discharge to the best of my ability
the duties incumbent on me as moderator of this meeting
the duties incumbent on me as moderator of this meeting.
according to the Constitution
Point of order! According to the Constitution
and laws of the state.
and the laws of the state,
So help me God.
so help me God. Is there public comment on election or nominating as moderator? This is the moderator from the last town meeting that wasn't voted in. Next one. The meeting will be in order. For those who's making noise. The meeting will be in order. For those who don't know, my name is Norman Blake. I'm a migrant moderator from West Baldwin. I'm up the river to do this meeting tonight to try to get the town of Brownfield back in business. Now, I'm required to say that this meeting will be governed by the rules of the Maine Moderator's Manual. The Maine Moderator's Manual incorporates provisions of Maine state law, MRSA 2524. Ordinarily, I run a looser ship. Tonight, as you can see, we have no audio system. We have a whole bunch of people here, and we've got a lot to do. I will remind everyone that MRSA 2524 states that a person may not speak before being recognized by the moderator. In particular, there is always a tendency, and I've been there too, I've done it, for folks for the voters in the seats to want to chat to the person next to them or in front of them or behind. Over a short period of time, the noise level gets higher and higher, and people can't hear what's going on, and it's unfair to your fellow voters, besides being unlawful. 2524 states all persons shall be silent at the moderator's command. That means when I do something like that, please be immediately quiet. If you happen to be recognized and be speaking, just stop. It usually means that somebody's making a ruckus and I gotta settle them down, and I'll be right back to you. A non-voter, a non-registered voter, may not speak without the approval of 2/3 of the House. I'm assuming we may not need to worry about that tonight. And the fact that I don't particularly care for, 2524 allows the moderator to have a law enforcement type person escort to the meeting and hold in custody until the meeting is adjourned any person who has great difficulty coming to order. I've been running public meetings. I'm in my 4th decade now. I have had one person in that period of time escorted out officially. I didn't want to do it. There are, I think, 1,600 to 1,700 residents in Brownfield. My guess is there's 900 or 1,000 registered voters. And how many do we think we have here tonight? We've got 107. So we have about 176 registered voters here tonight. You are the people who really care about Brownfield. You are the people who sacrifice your time to come here to vote. And I certainly don't want anyone to lose that opportunity. Now, having said all that, I'd like to start this meeting out on the right foot, perhaps something we can all agree on. If everyone would please rise, and we could show our allegiance and appreciation to the flag of our nation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. When you do get called upon to speak again, we got no audio and not very good acoustics in this room, and most of us have elderly used up eardrums. So I'm going to ask you to stand right up straight if you can, and take a deep breath and say your piece. Okay, let's move to Article 2 to see if the town will vote to dispense with the checklist. Do I have a motion? Second. Second. Any discussion? Here none. All those in favor of Article 2 as presented? Those opposed? Article 2 is accepted. Article 3. I'm going to read the article. The article was essentially presented by the selectmen. They went back and did the work on this. First thing I'm going to do is recognize a couple of the selectmen to explain the article, their thought process, and then we're going to open it up to questions and comments from you folks. Article 3, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $906,465 for payroll and benefits. We have a listing of how the select board wants to break it down, and you notice a new thing underneath. It says select board proposes $32,000 from the health insurance reserve to offset the budget, and total with the reserve would be $874,465. But the article itself is $906,465. Do we have a motion? Okay. Is there a second? Second. Okay, we've got it on the floor for discussion. Now, Rick, would you like to explain what your thought process was? Speak right up, don't be shy.
Oh, I'm not too shy. All right, at the town meeting, Article 3 had failed. An amendment was made to go to last year's payroll number. That failed. And then we had the failure of the 906. According to the town's attorney, where the amendment failed, we had no choice because we didn't have any payroll. Meaning, July 1st, with no payroll, there would be no town services. So, in discussion with the town's attorney, we had a 7-day notification to get an article out for your vote. It was a dead heat at the 48 and 48 at the town meeting for the 906 original article. Whereas dead heat, it fails. It always goes to the failure. So Thursday, we spent some time, looked at what we had, and we had the availability of $32,000 from the healthcare reserve to drop the raise and appropriate of 906 to 874.
Rick, if I can just slow you down for a minute. Sir, this is a public meeting. Yes, you and everyone else is allowed to record audio and video at the public meeting, but no one may do so in such a way as to cause a distraction at the meeting or to interfere with the moderator's view of any of the voters or the voters' view of the front row. Please find a inconspicuous spot, perhaps up against the wall.
I introduce myself. I'm John
Makes no difference, sir. If you stand right up against the wall, get a nice spot. You, sir, please,
Inconspicuous.
you're not inconspicuous enough. Again, I'm gonna ask you folks to find a good place to be
I hear you.
and find a good place to be and stay there.
I'm gonna move around.
No, you're not. You'll be out of order. If I consider it a distraction.
That's
It's not negotiable. It's not a discussion. Rick, please continue.
pretty much all I got.
That's all you got to say? Vince,
up with.
Vince, I know you
Well-
wanted to say something.
Well, yeah, I mean, what we have to consider is, inflation has gone up, prices have gone up for people. So definitely raises would be in order, or else without a raise, people are actually going backwards, the employees. So, the labor market right now, if you look at the Conway Sun, it's pages of people looking for workers. So it's highly competitive market. The people we have been trained, dedicated, and they show up and they work. I don't know what else to say except, if you're sick, don't come into the town office because the town office has been closed this year for a couple of days. And be considerate of that. But yeah, it should be considered that, prices have gone up and people need to increase wages.
Okay,
Yeah, thank you.
Frank, do you have anything? Okay. Open to discussion and questions from the floor. I can't remember your name, but yes, ma'am.
My name is April Payroll.
I knew that.
I would like to make an amendment to go with 856,146 with no raise.
Say that number again for me. I'm not as fast as I look.
Last year's budget of 856,146.
Second. Okay, it's been moved and seconded that Article 3 be amended to what is essentially last year's number, $856,146.
Yeah.
Is there a second to the motion? Second. Thank you. Discussion on the amendment. Questions, discussion on the amendment? Yeah.
Why not, why no raises?
And again, so this doesn't get too adversarial, I'll point to you, point to him. April, back to you.
Time to have, not everybody gets a raise from their employers, and no one gets much more than 2% out of Social Security. With the taxes rising, I think everybody can wait until next year to see what comes about with all the expenses going out.
Yes, sir.
I pointed out last time that this budget increased by 14%. For average person in this room, many of you on Social Security, your Social Security check did not go up by 14%. It might have gone up by 2.3. So while I respect Vince's comment that prices have gone up and everything, the money that retired people living on fixed income did not go up by 14%. In last year's article, budget had Article 29, and it's not in this year's budget, where there was an opportunity to offset the budget by unexpended surplus. I was very surprised that that's not in this year's budget. And the reason it failed last year is because the audit wasn't completed. But now that the audit is completed, I would think that there would be a significant amount of money that we could apply to offset this year's budget.
I'd like to address that comment, as far as the 422, the 722 that was, in last year's warrant. 422 of that was for, honestly, shouldn't have been, raised because the article was for the grant, if applied for the community center. It was never applied for, therefore it shouldn't have been raised. There was $300,000 surplus per the auditors. That's where you got your 722 and change in order for that. It was not, it failed, luckily, because we had to come up with the 725 as you voted in April 1st to transfer that money from capital reserve so that we could cover the town's buy-in on the Fed grant for the public safety building. So if we'd have spent that money and to offset the tax rate, we'd have had to go right back out and tax you again on 7/25. We already had it. There was no sense in expending that to offset tax rate to just go and reappropriate it to cover the grant, which the taxpayers voted to accept the grant. So we have no choice. And actually, now that the audits were performed and the state, where you at, chief? When the state looked at the numbers, we actually have to have another $16,000 so that we are able to take that federal grant money.
Correct.
So, and that was an oversight at the Fed level, Senator Collins' office, for the extra 16. Good news is, folks, we got it. It's not going to be a raise and appropriate for the $16,000.
Okay, we're still debating the amendment to 856. I'll be there in a minute. I saw your hand first.
I'd like to tap into Ricky again. He explained it the other day. The increase in work responsibilities from the administrative officers. And I don't know if this is relevant, but if you could tell them how much everyone we have in the pockets from the audit.
I don't have those numbers.
I didn't bring that with me.
I'm sorry, I didn't bring the numbers from the audit. When I did have, Lynn and I had a conversation with Ron Smith, RHR Smith, the auditing company, and the reason we didn't put an article in to offset tax rate was because we're not finished with the audit process. They finished up 24. That's the end of 24 and started working on 25. We were 4 years behind on audits. So there was a lot of, there wasn't the accountability to give sharp numbers. So they're working on 25 with Lynn right now. Now, I will address the additional duties. The taxpayers come in and they voted the playground out here. 32 plus years old, it's got to go away. We did an article in there for 180,000 that overwhelmingly passed. But by doing that, a large majority of the taxpayers think that, well, the town needs to maintain it. Yes, agreed. But we have to have the manpower to do that. So the pay raise with your public works, the treasurer, public works is good. They're on the hook to take care of that, along with the rec director. We've already set up, where we can get classes for 3 town employees to be certified by the state to inspect playgrounds. The playground committee is working very hard, trying to get things put together to keep all the taxpayers happy and provide something that's fun for the kids in the town. But Public Works is going to wind up picking up the tab on that with the time and the manpower. Not only that, the treasurer, who by the way is elected, with this grant of $3.898 million, she doesn't make any extra money and she has to do all of it. Anything financial, that's her responsibility. She has to cover that with no extra pay. And she's got to stand state and federal auditing. So if they come in and ask to see the books, she's got to be able to answer for them. The office people, they're working. They're working.
There's a lot of chatter in the back. That needs to stop. I'll get the fellow with the sparkly cap, the fellow way in the back, and somebody up front here in a minute. But continue, Rick, briefly.
The office staff has exponentially changed in the past year. They have worked very hard. It's very pleasant to go in and take care of business. They're prompt in answering. Just the sheer amount of the legal things that we have going on that you don't know about. is very exponential and it's very time consuming. So, no pay raise, that's fine. But just know that all of the employees of this town, they bust their ass for you. They do it with a smile on their face, even though they got taxpayers that come up and light them up literally at a store, in the parking lot, in the office. They pull them up to a, no ma'am, I will not shut up. Good.
That's true.
Well,
That is true. You're right. I'll get to you in a minute, but I will not tolerate that sort of an output.
Because he works with us.
Rick, if you could you are a very,
they bust their ass for you.
speaker.
They bust their ass for you folks. They really do. Don't take advantage of it.
Thank you, Rick. The gentleman with the sparkly cap, that is that.
I'm Jeff Toll. I live at 23 Wakefield Road. I'm a new resident now. Town of Freedom. This budget is very comparison to the town of Freedom. Same population, same number of employees, same work ethic. Now, one thing I don't think some people understand is if you have an escrow account and your taxes go like this every 6 months, what it sounds like it could be in this town if stuff fails. Because that's what will happen. You'll have a meeting every 6 months. You'll have to approve more money. And what happens is your mortgage company says, we can't predict this town. So your escrow account goes through the roof. I'm talking your neighbors. Their mortgage, not their property taxes. So having a balanced budget, one that doesn't, and this is what that is, it barely fluctuates, it actually goes down. That is what you want for your neighbors, the mortgage and their property tax.
Go away in the back. Yes, sir, with the Santa Claus beard. Was that you I saw last December?
Clint, what do we have in the bank now? In our house?
In what account?
In reserve, what do we have?
Lynn, can you roughly answer that off the top of your head?
1 to 1.1. It was like
1 point, like 1.5.
When at the end of the 24 fiscal year audit, RHR Smith stated we had $1,500,000. So 1,050,000.
So a million in round
A
terms.
million rough. But again, we're still waiting on the completion of the 25.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay, lady here, yeah. Your turn.
Hello. And again, the one from away. I agree with the vote that we had last time, but I do not agree with taking down any raises this year. That is unfair to the employees of the staff. However, I want everybody to notice that town, many of us are unhappy with the expenditures in this town, and they should work around it properly, rather than come to town meeting and we all cry and say, no, we are voting against this. These people deserve their raises. No question about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Gentleman up front, and then I'll get the third person.
I'm gonna get my hat.
Please speak right up.
Don't worry, I will.
Good man.
I agree with it. I agree with the man with the cash. That's not the problem. The problem is, I lived in 4 towns, and it's the same government we have here. That's not the problem. The problem is, we don't have a tax base to support it. We need to close the Denmark Brownfield school. How can you justify 78 kids in a building? You can't even adjust the education to heat it. It's not that these people are overpaid or underpaid. It's the fact that the town doesn't have the tax base to keep this up. In 10 years,
You think the taxes are high now, wait 10 years. And the current rate, the school budget and the town budget, they're going to dump. That's the fact. Now, if we want to protect that, all of us in the room have a stake in it. We need to all get involved and figure out how you can fix a town that flourishes this. To support the budget it has. A third of the properties in this town do not have a tax rate higher than March 6th spin-off. Fact. Second fact, half the taxes in this town, I'm sorry, 75% of the taxes in the town are paid by half the taxpayers. You can't keep jacking the taxes up on those of us and expect it to work. We don't have the tax base to support it. The town is broke. Now, I agree with Rick and the guy with the tax. Yes. But how do we fund it? We've got to, if we could close Denmark, Brownfield, Denmark school, why couldn't we get the offices of Denmark and Brownfield and move them into that? Combine the towns over a period of time. And it's not happen overnight, I know that. To reduce the cost, as long as Brownfield doesn't have a building code, and you're gonna continue to allow them to bring in 50-year-old trailers, as they did on Mr. Lane last year, you're not gonna improve the tax base in this town to move it forward. What do you do to raise the money? That's the question.
Okay, April, I saw your hand up. I'll get back to you in a minute. But one of the things I do to increase participation is give priority on any given article to someone who has not yet spoken on that. We'll get back to you. In the gray t-shirt, yes, you had your hand up before.
Why were raises being forced and not asked?
What, say again?
Raises are being forced and not asked.
Why are raises being forced
Forced.
and not asked?
Yeah, we're normally always asked for a certain, we want to raise a certain percent for raises. And the way that the article is already been put in exact amount.
Okay, can the selectmen briefly?
It's been a few years since you've seen an article that, to add for that, it's been in the, put into the payroll article. I want to say, Ms. Salvina, I think you were the first one to start that with the chart. That was what, 4 years ago?
Speak right up, please.
Well, it's been at least 4 years that it's not been a singular article asking for that. And just to point it out, this article is asking whether you approve it or not.
April,
I was just wondering if we could carry on with the article.
we have to deal with the amendment first.
That's what I'm saying.
So what you're saying is, would you like to move the voting on the amendment?
Yeah.
Okay, we vote to move
Yeah.
move the amendment.
Yeah.
Okay, what we're doing now is we're gonna have a show of hands of,
Oh, yeah.
I'm in
I think-
process, so I can't take a new motion. We're gonna have a show of hands to decide to stop discussion on the amendments and vote on the amendment itself or down. Once we do that, we can go back to the main article. So all those in favor of.
I motion for it, ballot.
I second that.
I had already started saying all those in favor. So unfortunately, I
had my hand prior to you even mentioning it.
That's true.
Second.
okay, I guess we've got to do it the hard way, if that's how people want to do it. We're gonna vote on, now we're gonna have to vote on whether we want a written ballot on the amendment. All those in favor of having a written ballot on. Actually, did you vote a written ballot? Is your motion a written ballot on the move the question thing, or do you want it?
On this vote coming up, it was on the amendment.
No, you're not listening to me. Do you want, right now, we're talking about moving the question, that is stopping discussion and going to a vote on the amendments. You don't want a written ballot on that, do you?
Yes, I do. Just like last time.
Okay,
At the town meeting.
this is unnecessary complication, but the wonderful thing about town meeting is that it's not always perfect.
That's his-
Now, all those in favor, okay, the question is, will we do this moving the question on a written ballot? All those in favor of the vote to move the question with a written ballot, raise your hand. Those opposed? Okay, very good. Now we can move ahead. Now we're gonna vote on moving the question, which means that we will stop debate on the amendment, and then we can vote on the amendment. We're not voting on the amendment now, we're voting on stopping debate. All those in favor of stopping debate and moving the question and getting right to it. Those opposed? It appears that we can now vote on the amendment unless there is any more discussion. I don't want to ramrod. Briefly.
I'd like to motion for a written ballot, again.
Yes, out of order. It's all, you can't just keep playing ping pong with this.
No, I want.
You're out of order, be quiet. Okay,
All right,
we're voting now on the amendment. The amendment is to change the amount in Article 3 to 8, and this is the amendment. We're not voting on the article itself, the money. We're voting to put the amendment up. All those in favor of amending the amount in Article 3 to $856,146, please raise your hand.
I'm sorry, sir, can you say that again?
Got it. Stick your head in the bar. Yeah, no, it's trying, I understand. Okay, we're voting on the amendment to change the amount on Article 3 from the 906 to the 856 number. So all those in favor of amending Article 3 to the 856,146 number, please raise your hand. Those opposed? Okay, what I'm gonna do, I'm going, because this is a sensitive subject, I think the opposing vote probably won. This is a sensitive subject. I'm going to ask the clerk front row here to give a 2 counter. People on, one person is gonna count people on this side, one person is gonna count people on that side.
I think.
And we're
I think so.
that
Yep.
that way, the exact number will be recorded in the minutes of this meeting, and there will be no doubt. Oh, you're a counter, right? Okay, you're bad. Okay. All those in favor of the amendment to change the number in Article 3 to $856,146, please raise your hands and hold them up there. Keep them up, keep them up. Keep them up on this side, the counter's still working over here.
Let me know how I have to vote to cancel it.
You got everybody on your side? Okay, rest your arms for a minute. Counters will report the number. Okay. All those opposed? And keep them right up there, please. Yeah, check outdoors. I'm glad we were not doing this last night.
We have to wait for ballot to keep cool.
I think this side is safe, the counter's still working on that side.
Did you get the ones outside, Deb, on your side?
Yes, it did.
In the window?
Yeah, their votes count too.
Should have to hold the ballot. So we need to hold the vote.
Right.
And I'll just borrow Elizabeth's paper. Those in favor, 59 voters. Those opposed, 94 voters. The amendment failed. We're back to Article 3 as presented. $906,465. Is there further discussion, questions? You and briefly, please.
I move that this, well, the secret ballot.
Second. Okay,
That one is called the question yet, we're not voting on those.
well, right now I have a motion for a secret ballot. So I've got to, I want to deal with that. However, that's not gonna rush us into a vote right off the bat.
But the vote for the secret ballot is for the actual.
Is for the vote for the secret ballot is gonna be when we get to the 906 thing. Okay, good? Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we deal with Article 3 at 906,465 by secret ballot. We will do this by a show of hands, no less. All those in favor of a secret ballot on Article 3, that's the 906 number. Those opposed? The motion failed. The article will be done by a show of hands. Now, we're back to Article 3 as it was presented, 906,465 payroll and benefit. And we still have the select board proposes taking 32,000 from the health insurance reserve to offset the budget. Do we have any further comment? I saw your hand go up first, and this gentleman way in the back. I'll get you in a minute. Go ahead.
I was just gonna ask, I did the math on the high salaries, what I thought, we're looking at it. If I'm not mistaken, it averages for the higher salaries, about $22 an hour, is that about right?
Yeah, 25.
For the higher salaries on here.
$22 an hour in addition?
No.
Just a sec. We got to get that info for you.
State the question again.
So I did doing the math, I looked at the higher salaries, around 55,000. Divided by 52 weeks, 40 hours a week, that's about $22 an hour. Is that
Right.
sound about
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Yes.
So, I don't know if you know, Ocean State Job Lot is up in North Conway, just a 20-minute drive. They're starting their cashiers out at $22 an hour. I don't think it's too much
Well said.
for our higher paid people to make that money. That's fairly a livable wage.
The gentleman way in the back in the light blue shirt. Yes. You want to move the question? Second. It's been moved and seconded. What?
So if we,
I'll be right with you in a second. We may have a technical.
yeah, we voted not to do last year's budget, right? Not to
That's
do
right.
that. If we vote this down, the 90446, where are we again?
Okay. Vince asked a question. What happens if you vote this 906 thing down? What happens is you're right back where we were 2 weeks ago. You don't have a budget. And right now, you do not have enough time before the end of the fiscal year, which is Monday night at midnight. You do not have enough time. Let me explain this. You do not have enough time for the selectmen to be at their advertised meeting on Tuesday, and then perhaps decide to present something else, and then provide the, 7-day advertising notification time. I think that puts you to the 10th or 11th or 12th of July. Basically, you do not have a payroll budget. Last meeting, we were at that point. Those of you who were there will recall that I used a technique, move to reconsider. Now, I was stretching the parliamentary rules a little bit there. A move to reconsider is generally done when you get some new information that just popped in. Somebody found a package of ballots fell down behind the piano, or we didn't count the people in the balcony, or John D. Rockefeller just walked in with a shoebox full of $100 bills. I felt that it was excusable to bend the rules and give the town another chance, i.e. a move to reconsider. My goal, it's your town, it's not my town, but my goal is to do a decent job and leave you with some kind of budget so you can keep your town in operation. I need you to come up with some kind of budget that you can deal with. Now, I see a couple of hands. However, we have a motion on the floor to move the question, and that must be dealt with. Motions have to be dealt with in order. So basically, what we have now is a motion to move the question. Do you still have that motion, or do you want to withdraw?
It was seconded.
Clarify, so you're saying if we vote on this, if we don't pass it, we can't go back and make some kind of compromise.
Ordinarily, once a motion is dealt with, you move on. Last time we had an Article 4 behind this, and all I could legally do is move on to Article 4. The only thing we got behind this is adjournment. Now, as I say, I was stretching the bounds of parliamentary authority by having a motion to reconsider at all. You do what you want. Right now, we have a motion to move the question. You rescind that. You wish to rescind the motion?
Second.
Okay. Right now, we're back to Article 3 at 906-465, and lady in the blue and white shirt, way down back. We haven't heard from you.
If we need an amendment for the select board, to propose $32,000 to go into this, offset, so the amount would be $174,465.
The way I interpret it, the article as presented is you raise and appropriate, and raise means taxation. That's a governmental word, means taxation. You raise and appropriate. Appropriate means to assign the money to this account, payroll and benefits. Now, the way I interpret the article as it is written, you are authorizing raising and appropriating 906-465, and the selectmen are saying that they will also take the $32,000 from the health insurance reserve to offset this. So
So it doesn't need an amendment.
It does not need an amendment, it's there as presented. You've had your hand up for a while.
No, no,
Can you stand up?
approximately that is in the health insurance reserve.
34,000.
Thank you.
Further, way down towards the window, yes. I mean, can you come around? Okay, lay right in.
Hi, everyone. So my question is just back to page 74, 465. If we are offsetting that from the other budget, why would we be going to raise
Okay, I'm gonna ask Rick to briefly.
By doing that, you're not giving us permission to use the reserve account. You have to give us permission to expend monies out of that reserve account.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Further questions? Yes and yes. Yep.
My name is Jen Carver. Many of you know that I work for the town of Conway. Town of Conway, who works for Big Ten, any business dealing, pay attention to your surrounding towns. One thing that concerns me about this 32,000 coming from healthcare reserve is that we just experienced a real issue with our insurance. We had no one to go to, get three insurances. Many of the people in our town hall were sick with serious health issues. Because of that, our insurance skyrocketed, so we started shopping around and no one else would touch us. So I think it's a very bad idea to take money from a health insurance reserve account, leaving only $2,000 in there for the purpose of raising. While I have the floor, I would like to say that also something that we, the government are experiencing, wage compression and wage suppression. You don't pay, you don't stay in the game. We're not gonna have them. So I am a strong proponent of giving raises. However, I am not a proponent of giving raises without merit increases, so that we can set goals for our staff and keep control over what we want their coaches to be. On a side note, every government office, I don't care where you go, is getting hammered with work. Too much work. I'm one. We don't get any extra because our workload goes up. Not how it's hard here. We pay hourly, we pay salary. So I believe that they deserve raises. I believe they deserve raises every year. I'm not sure I like the way it's presented here, because it gives us very little control over how big those raises are and how often and over what people do. I don't like pulling raises out of the air. I just don't think that's fair, and I question the legality and liability that can come with that. Thank you.
I'll address the.
Okay,
No, yeah.
Alvina.
I'm just afraid that you made a mistake.
Nobody can hear you.
Okay. Well, Mr. Blake said that if we voted this 906-465, it allows the select board to take that 32 from the health care. It's not part of the article. The article stops at the 906. This was just a suggestion. I think if we want to allow that, we do need an amendment to the article which grants that approval.
It appears from the writing of the article that is something the selectmen intended to do. I will ask this, I had my thoughts about that too. Okay, I'll get with it. I'm gonna ask, what did the selectmen intend? What was your intention?
The intention of this was to go with the 874, 465 to appease the taxpayers that it's a lower raise and appropriate and utilize monies that we have in reserve. Now, the reserve monies, we have 8,700 that's going to roll over into the health insurance reserve account come June 30. And the healthcare is, if we have to raise and appropriate for all of the full-time employees, regardless of them taking it or not, we have to. It's statutorily required, because at any time throughout the year, they can elect, hey, I want to take that health insurance, and we have to be able to pay for it. So we have to raise and appropriate. The intention was give us the permission for the 874, utilizing the 32K out of the healthcare. That's our.
I'm gonna
But
go.
no, if you look at historically, the select board and the budget committee always recommends, and that as long as that's carried in the motion, i.e. raise and appropriate 906 with the utilization of 32K out of the healthcare reserve as the motion for a total of 876, whatever the number was. Correct. So it could be used just like it is.
Okay, Alvin, you have a follow-up?
Yes, it,
Stand right up, please.
the motion was for the 906,
Yeah.
465, and it didn't say anything about the 32,000. Collectively, that motion.
I'm with you. I'm with you. 100%.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, I will.
Can I form a motion?
Okay, we're dealing, let me just, without insulting the selection, I will say that is not the best written article I've ever seen.
I'll take the blame for all.
Okay, Ricky takes the blame.
100%.
I agree. Now, how would you like to correct it, Rick? Are you a registered voter?
Yes, sir.
Then yes, you can make a motion.
My motion would be to raise and appropriate the number of 874, 465 or 906, 465, utilizing 32K from the health insurance reserve, for a total number offset of 874, 465 for payroll and benefits.
Rick did that a little wrong, but I'm gonna fix it for him. Rick, what I wanted to hear Rick say is I move to amend.
Oh, okay, yeah, I move to amend it. Yeah.
What he said.
I heard him say that.
Is there a second? Is there a second to Rick's amendment? Okay. I don't know, well, it's a good thing it doesn't get back early. Okay, we have
One quick question.
no words.
Well, if we look down, Article 3 is written.
It's gonna be a real quick question, because I'm in the middle of something.
Oh, well, I'm trying to understand. If we vote this down, will we then get a vote afterwards to bring it to last year's level?
No, that's already fair.
We've already tried that, everybody hates it. Okay. Right now, we have an amendment. God, you got me all mixed up. The numbers are flying too fast for my old head. Okay, Rick has.
I motion to amend Article 3 from the 906, 465 to utilize 32K from the health insurance reserve to offset this raise and appropriate for a total number of 874, 465.
Okay, that's where we are. Okay, well, it's been moved and seconded. I just get a little slow, my elderly age. Now is there discussion on Rick's amendment? Yes.
And on the amendment, isn't it supposed to be in writing so it can't be changed?
If it's
Because we're voting on something.
no, if it's fairly simple and people smarter than I can understand it, it can be done verbally. and Elizabeth is writing things down, and she has it all taken care of. If it was a long amendment, Eric had one or 2 or 3 years.
That's the one.
It went on for about 3 days.
That's what I'm talking
Yeah,
about. It was mandated.
but this basically, we're changing a couple of line items, cross this out, put something in. So no, this is a permitted form of an amendment. Now, before we move on, is there any more discussion on Rick's amendment? Okay.
You got someone over there.
Where are? Over there. Yes, sir. What'd you do to your head? You run into something?
Well, I'll do it. Question on the overtime and the public works extra help. Those are not guaranteed to be spent, correct?
Correct. If
So
we
those can go back into the budget or
Yeah.
be.
that would roll, any of it would roll over into general surplus. Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm Tidy Slover, Progressive.
Please speak. All right out.
The gentleman had big ideas about how to combine governments and put people together, like, that seems like great things to discuss, so where would somebody with those thoughts want to bring that up, if not at a vote?
Okay, that's a good question. One of the things about articles is that they must stay within the scope of the article. This is a payroll article. It says this much money, this is for payroll. To create a structure for figuring out other stuff is a whole nother matter. Again, not within the scope of this. Now, what you can do is sometimes go talk to the selectmen. And yeah, and see if you can get 2 sympathetic ears on the board and come up with an article that covers what you want to do, and that'll get voted on at a town meeting sometime. The other way is a citizen petition. I don't know how many registered voters you need. Down in Baldwin, it's 25. You always want to get a few extras to somebody. You can put a petition to the selectmen to put a given article on the warrant. It's not saying you have to, but it's handy to get some help to do that, because if you're not involved in all the legalities of municipal government, you can sometimes make yourself in a corner you don't want to be. But that's what?
Can we vote on it?
Are you voting to? Are you?
I want to vote on the.
You.
Second.
Okay, yeah. You know, you have to say, I wish to move the question.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to move the question. What that does is terminate debate, and then we can actually move on the amended item. Are we ready to terminate debate? Go on. Okay, all those in favor of moving the question, that is terminate debate. Those opposed? Okay, we'll move the question. I know sometimes people think I let this go on too long, but that's what town meeting is. Sometimes it takes, especially on field day. So, Article 3 as amended. And we have determined that we're going to do this on a show of hands. All those in favor of Article 3 as amended, please raise your hand. Those opposed? The Article 3 is passed with a great preponderance, but not unanimously. In view of the fact that many of you have sung along this evening, I won't ask for an exact count. I think we've done pretty well in getting along together tonight. I would entertain a motion to adjourn. All those in favor of adjourn.